brothers, in closing, I want you to take this pledge. When I say I want you to say I, and I'll say your name. I know that there's so many names, but I want you to shout your name out so that the ancestors can hear it. Take this pledge with me. Say with me, please. I say your name. Pledge that from this day forward, I will strive to love my brother as I love myself. I say your name. From this day forward, will strive to improve myself spiritually, morally, mentally, socially, politically, and economically, for the benefit of myself, my family, and my people. I say your name. Pledge that I will strive to build business, build houses, build hospitals, build factories, and enter into international trade for the good of myself, my family, and my people. I say your name. Pledge that from this day forward, I will never raise my hand with a knife or a gun to beat, cut, or shoot any member of my family or any human being except in self-defense. I say your name. Pledge from this day forward, I will never abuse my wife by striking her, disrespecting her, for she is the mother of my children and the producer of my future. I say your name. Pledge that from this day forward, I will never engage in the abuse of children, little boys or little girls, for sexual gratification. But I will let them grow in peace to be strong men and women for the future of our people. I say your name. Will never again use the B word to describe any female, but particularly my own black sister. I say your name. Pledge from this day forward that I will not poison my body with drugs or that which is destructive to my health and my well-being. I say your name. Pledge from this day forward, I will support black newspapers, black radio, black television. I will support black artists who clean up their acts to show respect for themselves and respect for their people and respect for the ears of the human family. I
If you do not know the difference between the ancient Egyptian Ankh and the cross, then this video is going to blow your mind. Now, first off, we need to understand that the cross represents death. The whole story around the cross is a story of someone dying on it. The Ankh, on the other hand, represents life and eternal life. Now, the Ankh represents the merging of the masculine and the feminine energies. Now, the top represents the woman's womb, the womb of life, and the sides are the ovaries. The bottom represents the masculine energy, the seed of life. The top also represents the portal from the spiritual to the physical world. Women have been chosen by the Creator to be the portals between the spiritual realm and the physical realm. They are the only force powerful enough to navigate unborn spirits into this realm. So when the masculine and the feminine come together, it creates life. It is also known as the divine key and represents duality, spirituality, peace, and love. The Ankh also represents life force energy. Look at the symbol. If you do not know the difference between
Okay, good evening, and welcome to our Wednesday spiritual studies. I am your teacher this evening, Alonzo Richard Fleming, and I want to thank everybody joining us on Facebook and on YouTube, as well as on Twitter. I think we over there now. We have an interesting lesson this evening for you, and I wanted to really kind of solidify what we've been talking about starting the last two Sundays, or the last Sunday, which is the real devil in the Garden of Eden story. This lesson this evening, talking about releasing the Willie Lynch thinking, is kind of like a support lesson for that overall series that we're doing with respect to talking about the real devil in the Garden of Eden story. I played for you before we started the pledge that we took at the Million Man March in 1995. I was there. It's been called since then the Day of Atonement for us, and it was 2 million black men who decided to go to Washington, D.C. and accept the atonement on behalf of the entire people as well as the entire nation. We did that. We accepted the atonement on your behalf on that day in 1995. Listen, brothers and sisters, we really, and well, then I played the Ankh, a little explanation of the Ankh. And the Ankh is the ancient Egyptian symbol of life. And it's hard for us because we have not been taught. We've been miseducated, brothers, so much that we have it upside down. We think that life is death and death is life, and that somehow that we can get life through death. And so this was an explanation of the difference between the cross and the Ankh. The Ankh represents life and the cross represents death. And it's obvious in its application. You know, we have on our churches the symbol of death, which is the cross. And the Ankh is the symbol of life. And so I played that to kind of help you to get to snap out of the hypnotic state that we have been placed in. Many of us been placed in through the ego and through the devil. I use those words interchangeably, the ego and the devil. And so this lesson this evening is designed to help snap that spell which is now the serum to the poisonous spell that has engulfed humanity, is now circling the planet. And people are taking this serum. And this serum is a serum, metaphorically speaking, designed to open the eyes of your understanding. See, because if you don't understand, then you're blinded. You can be blinded. Stevie Wonder wrote a song some years ago called Superstition. And in that song, the Superstition, he says, when you believe in things you don't understand, then you suffer. And so these symbols, the cross as well as the Ankh, are symbols. And symbols have the meaning that you give them. They have no power in themselves. They become idols if you give them power. You are literally giving something that has no power, the power that you actually have, as though it has some sort of inherent power that you didn't give it. See, you and I have to come to terms with our identity. And this is what the whole series that I've been doing regarding the real devil in the Garden of Eden story. It's about an authority. Who is the authority? What is the authority? And so this is what we're doing. I'm not going to be before you too long this evening, because I've been celebrating my birthday, and thanks for all the birthday wishes that everybody gave to me, and all the gifts and cards and presents and stuff that I got. I was just overwhelmed by a lot of things. And this year was a birthday where I wanted to just be alone. I wanted to just be in prayer and in contemplation and meditation. And that's what I did on my birthday. I sat in my room and I stayed in meditation. I read, and I just really wanted to recenter my own self. And so I'm happy to have had that birthday and was able to do what I was able to do. So thank you all for the wishes that I had. Now, going right into the lesson, brothers and sisters, one thing that is on my mind and been heavy on my heart is the state of not only the country, but the state of us as a people. And I've been talking to you over the year or so that I've been doing this. I've been talking about how that God sends those with his word in their mouth to the people to address them where they are. And the God deals with people in terms of nations. He deals with us in terms of a brotherhood, and not necessarily, though he does, she does, or however you want to, whatever you want to put on there. We use the word he for convenience. He deals with you in terms of reminding you of your being, of yourself, of who you are. But he deals with nations. It talks about in the Quran as well as the Bible about how God sets the boundaries of the nations and their time that they exist. And everything, brothers and sisters, in time follow the same rules of time. But we have the ability through getting in touch with our higher faculties to rise above the time in terms of how we function in time. We have that ability. And I've been doing this series on the Garden of Eden, and I've been I hope that you've been catching it, that I'm showing you how the same technique and the same psychology that's used in the Garden of Eden to reduce the man to a slave is the same technique that Willie Lynch used in American slavery to reduce a free people to the level of the beast. The same technique. And so today I'm going to deal with this in terms of Willie Lynch a little bit, just to kind of prepare you for next Sunday, which is Mother's Day. And on next Sunday, I'm going to talk about this whole Garden of Eden story in terms of how Eve and the mother, because it's Mother's Day. So I'm going to center in on Eve and what happened there. That little clip that I just played for you about the aunt talks about the unique position of the female, been giving the power. Listen, ladies, the unique position of the female is such that you as a female are the ones who have the power to bring souls into manifestation. You have the power. You've been given this awesome power to bring souls out of the spirit, as it were, into physical manifestation. That is an awesome power. But you've been tricked. You've been bamboozled. You've been hoodwinked into thinking that the fruit of your womb is something that is a hindrance to your being. And so you're aborting your children, even in the churches. They flipping around in them churches, and falling out from under them skirts are dead babies that's being aborted. And I'm metaphorically speaking and being a little graphical here. But I'm telling you that you've been tricked by the God of death. And he's pretending to be the God of life. And so you want change because your soul knows that there's something wrong with this. So the ministers of death have been charged to make you believe that God, who comes into the situation and overturns the world of death, the God of this world and his world of death, they make you think that that is the devil. So you don't want no new age. You don't want no new world order. See, you don't want it because you think the new world order is evil. But if the new world order is different from this world order, it would imply that this world order is good. So I pose the question to you, brothers and sisters. Do you think that this world order is a good world order, something that you want to pass on to your children? Well, many of us say, many of our young people, our Generation Zs, they don't even want to bring children into the world. So we're going to take a step this morning, or this evening, I should say, and talk about that thinking as it relates to the slave piece of this doctrine of death. See, on Sunday, we talk about the spiritual part of it. Now we're going to talk about the physical, psychological part of it. And we're characterizing it under the name of Willie Lynch. Now, I want to say something that has been coming upon my mind for the last several weeks, and it has crashed in like a tank on me in the last day or so in my studies. And I want to talk about the condition of us as a Black people. A lot of us don't want to talk about this condition because naturally, you want to be part of the brotherhood of man. Naturally, you don't want to be different because you know you're not really different than your brothers of other races. So you don't want to talk about it. But see, the fact of the matter is, as I said in the beginning, that God deals with us in terms of nations, in terms of people, and he comes to us and help us as a people because it is the people that validate the morals and validate the culture. It is the people. So when he deals with the people, he's dealing with us in terms of our group dynamics. So now I want to get you to take a chance and read the 28th chapter of the book of Deuteronomy in the Bible. And you hear me talk about curses and blessings, and I maintained that cursings and blessings don't come out of the same mouth. But there's a secret in the Garden of Eden story that I'm going to reveal to you about the real devil so you can understand it. But I don't know how to bring this piece here into it in Deuteronomy so soon. I don't wonder if I'm actually making sense here. I want to bring this Deuteronomy story into this in this lesson, but I want to maintain that blessing and cursing does not come out of a sane mind. Now, I'm going to reveal to you who the devil is in that garden story, but you're going to have to listen carefully for the identity of it. So in Deuteronomy chapter 28, it is a promise given to the children of Israel by Yahweh, the God, the ancient God of that people. And in this chapter, there's a list of what would happen to the people as a whole if they did certain things. And it's like God doing this to that people. And it says, it shall come, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God to observe and do all his commandments, which I commanded thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations on the earth. And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. Then it lists a whole bunch of blessings here. And it says these blessings are going to come and overtake them and be in abundance if that nation, if that people are listening to the Lord thy God, or Yahweh. Then it goes on to talk about curses that would come upon that people if they didn't pay attention and listen to the rules, the law that the Lord thy God had given to them, that these curses would come upon them. Now, you're just going to have to go with me on this because I can't reveal certain things right now. You're going to have to listen on Sunday, but just try to take in what I'm saying here and try to stay with me here as we go through this piece, because there's something I could say in this, but I'm not inclined to say it just yet. So it lists all these curses that's going to come upon this people, not necessarily individuals, but a people, the nation of the people will get these curses and or these blessings depending on how they thought. Now, I'm here to share with you in unequivocal terms this day that you, black man and woman, are the real children of Israel. It is you. No one else on planet Earth fits this model but you. Nobody fits this experience but you. So I want to read a few of the things that would occur to this nation that would occur as a result of them not listening. And before I do that, I want to remind you of something, of those who were sent to our grandparents, to our great-grandparents rather, and our grandparents, and to our generation of boomers, the end years of the boomer generation. We have had those who have come to us and have laid down what thus saith the Lord. And one notably that I want to talk about is Marcus Garvey and Elijah Muhammad. One was a Christian, Marcus Garvey. He was a Christian, and we rejected him. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was a Muslim, and we rejected him. So let me tell you what they said, both of them in their own unique way, what they said to the black man and woman in America. And then I'm going to share with you these curses so you can see something here. And I'm talking about escaping Willie Lynch. Now, Elijah Muhammad came to our forefathers seemingly doing the same thing that Moses did in the story of the children of Israel. He first told them about the God of their fathers. He said, this is to our parents in Detroit, Michigan. And at first, our parents listened. Many of them listened. He talked about how to eat to live. He said that the food was poison and that they are steadily increasing in their poisoning for profit, and that you would suffer as a result of the poisonous eating. And therefore, thus says the Lord, here is how you eat to live. This is what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to our forefathers, to our grandparents, and our great-grandparents. He said that the plants in Detroit, because we were partying and smoking and getting high and screwing, and everybody got babies and messing around on each other's, and everybody's all messed up. He said that your children will suffer as a result of that, that the plant wives and the plant husbands and the plants would close down, and we would be poorer in the end than we were in the beginning. And we would wallow under the foot as free slaves under the foot of our brother, which he called the devil. He said that our eating and our thinking and our conduct would cause our children to suffer, and that God had given him the direction that we should go. And our grandparents, led by the preachers, rejected him. But he left a testimony in our midst by a fourth-grade educated man building a multi-million-dollar international organization that did exactly what we are crying out for to do right now this day. And he produced men like Malcolm X. Malcolm X was in prison when he found him and used the processes that God had given to this man, Elijah Muhammad, to use because they were imprisoning our men. And so you see what the doctrine will do by the very one that you worship to this day, Malcolm X. And you got to admit that Malcolm X learned from Elijah Muhammad, and that's who made him Malcolm X. So what did he teach him? You ain't got no man, woman. Black woman, you running around here, you don't have a man, and you complaining about the men are no good. Well, why is it that the men in the Nation of Islam are strong men and vibrant men, and they're there? What are they teaching men to make men like this? But you can't accept those men, ladies, because they say Allah and you say God. But it's a man that will respect you, will love you, will treat you right, will protect you, and you reject him because he says Allah and you say God. And you got to get on the internet and dating sites to find a man because you can't find one in them churches? What is it that Elijah Muhammad was teaching our forefathers that we could use today? We need to examine this. And why is it now that he's not on the scene that the people are wallowing in filth? Why are we wallowing in filth? You turn on the internet and you got 60-year-old women shaking their asses right in the camera. They should be grandmothers, nurturing their grandchildren or their daughters and guiding them, but they're too busy competing with the same men, competing for the same men that the fathers or that her daughter is competing for. You got grandmothers competing for her daughter's men. And you got grandmothers shaking their rumps. And every time you turn on the internet, that's what our ladies are doing most. Turning their butts to the camera and shaking it. I went to the park the other day to take a walk. And I was with a friend. And we were just talking and trying to come up with some ideas on how we were going to do some particular things. And I said, I couldn't believe it. This black woman, she might as well not have had on any clothes at all, because there was nothing left to the imagination. Her butt was out. She couldn't have been no more than about 19 or 20. And our men, what's with this dragging with your butt hanging out and seeing your underwear? What is that for? Why is that? Why is that a style to wear? To where the lower your pants are, the better. So we're unable to think. Our education has not given us anything that would benefit us as a people, and people come to this country and they're able to flourish and be on top of the things and prosper so easily, and we've been here for over 400 years. What's the difference in our thinking? When I was in college, it was very tough for me trying to study the mathematics that I was studying, the level of math and the level of science that I was studying. It was tough. And I studied night and day. It was very, very tough. And I tried to get into this study group that these Asians had, and they didn't want me in it because they were speaking in their own language. And so they were uncomfortable with speaking English just to accommodate me. So I didn't fit into their study groups, and the black folks didn't have a study group at all. I tried to get a couple, but we couldn't do it. A study was done by University of California at Berkeley because the black students were studying more than anyone, but flaming out in all of the maths and sciences and the things that the quality of study that was required for graduation from the University of Berkeley, University of California, Berkeley. And so the usual explanations for why blacks flamed out was given. And that was, well, there's a lower IQ. They don't have the ability. The learning style is not conducive to how they think. All kind of excuses, all kind of reasons was given at first. But that didn't seem to be, that didn't make sense, because you couldn't get into the school having a low IQ or not having excellence in your studies and in your grades. You understand? You had to qualify to get into the school in the first place. So that explanation that they were intellectually incapable didn't fly, because you had to be capable in order to get into the school in the first place. So they ruled that out and looked for something else. And they noticed that everybody had one thing in common that they were utilizing to score high on tests and in the classes. And they were utilizing study groups. The only ones that didn't have study groups were the blacks, and were the only ones struggling were the blacks. So what is it about our thinking that causes us to be treated like a group, but conduct ourselves as individualists? What is it about our thinking? Where did this thinking come from to where we can't work together under no circumstance? What is it in our DNA, brothers and sisters, that caused this? We can't blame it on an intellectual thing, because intellectually we all say we need to work together. So it has to be something else, because we are intellectually and we are assenting mentally that we need to work together so that we can advance. We all agree on that. But what is it that is among us that prevents that? I'm trying to do a project right now that's bigger than me. And I know it's bigger than me. And I have the hardest time getting people to come on board. And I get discouraged sometimes, but my spirit says, nope, I gave this to you to do it. And so I'm doing it with all my might. But it would be done faster, easier, and more efficiently if I just had those others to get in on the vision, see their common interests, and get in on it. I know we've been conned. I know we have. And we don't trust ourselves. I understand. But that's due to our thinking and not to some inherent nature of mistrust or cheating that we have. Something about the way we think is causing this malady. So in this 28th chapter of Deuteronomy, and talking about the curses, I didn't go to the blessings on purpose. I want to deal with the curses because I want to, and I'm only going to pick a couple of them out of there. And it talks about the Lord, verse 27, will smite thee with the botch of Egypt, and with the emerods, and with the scab, and with the itch, wherefore thou canst not be healed. The Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. Now, this is God proposing to do this to a people who are in disobedience. Now, remember, it said if you will hearken to the Lord, then these blessings will come. But if you disobey, then these curses will come. And I'm going to have to clear this up Sunday, blessing and cursing. But go with me today and just kind of flow with it the way I'm saying it today. And we'll clear up some other things on Sunday. The Lord will smite thee with the botch of Egypt. That is the diseases. That is the things every time, for example, every time somebody's got something, the COVID just went through. Who did they report died more from COVID? Black folk. Cancer. Who has it more? Black folk. Diabetes, heart attack, stroke, you name it. Who gets it more? Black folk. It doesn't matter how much we work. It doesn't matter how much we do. Every ailment, every curse of Egypt is, we're the ones with it. We're the ones taking the brunt of it as a people. It says that it doesn't matter what it is. We're the ones suffering the most as a people from it. Now, there are those of us who have partially escaped as such, but it even reaches in to whatever class we happen to be in, whatever economic class we happen to be in. And it says that this itch and this botch and this scab, that we won't be able to be healed. The Lord shall smite thee, verse 28, with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. Are we not mad? Is our conduct one of madness on every level? Is our conduct, are we not astonished? Are we not blinded by the obvious? And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropes in darkness. In other words, we will be blind and we won't know the way. We will be confused spiritually, economically, socially. We're groping around, not knowing where we're going and how to get there. And it says, you're going to grope around in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. We are the true children of Israel. You better accept it fully. If you want the revelation, you better accept it. This is Yahweh. This is what the ancients called God, Yahweh. The name. He says that you would be oppressed and only oppressed. Now, the astonishment would be the astonishment of heart, but I'm going to go on. You will be spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. There are those brothers and sisters that I'm dealing with, and I find myself having to counsel people. I'm not even married, and I'm counseling married folk and trying to keep marriages together. I ain't even married. And they're coming to me and speaking, and what I'm hearing is an oppression and a way of confusion, a level of confusion that it seems so simple, but I have to admit that I was even in the situation. And I'm asking God, well, wait a minute, why are you sending this to me? You know what I'm saying? But no man shall save thee. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build a house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and thou shalt not gather the grapes thereof. Thine oxen shall be slain before your eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. In other words, everything you do is going to be taken from you as a people. You're going to have a wife, and another will sleep with her. You'll build Black Wall Street, and another will come in and take it. You will be oppressed on every hand, and nothing shall work for you. And listen to this. I'm skipping over to verse 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations where the Lord leads thee, shall lead thee. In other words, let me tell you what a proverb, an astonishment is. People around the world look at us with astonishment. They can't believe how smart we are, and how brilliant we are, and how strong we are, and how oppressed and subjugated we are. They're astonished by it. My Uncle Homer, before he passed away, he used to tell me all the stories that he experienced in Vietnam. And you may have heard some of these stories. They're true. He said that the Viet Cong would capture some of the black soldiers and let them go, and asking them, what the hell is wrong with you over here fighting a war for the same person that's whipping your ass back at home? You got to hear this in this language that I'm saying it, brother, so you can get the full brunt of the ego's, the way it's functioning in your head. Thou shalt become an astonishment. So they were astonished, and everybody around the world is astonished at us. And a proverb, you know what a proverb is? Don't be like them niggas. That's a proverb. You will become a proverb. And a byword. A byword is a word that describes you. You are African American, you are black, you are Negro, you are nigger, you are colored, you are this, you are that. Every word you are described by a byword. And this is going to be happening to you among all nations, wherever you happen to be. It says that you will serve your enemy, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want, and of all things he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as a swift as an eagle flieth, and a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and of the fruit of thy land until thou be destroyed. This is what is prophesied upon the disobedient children of Israel for disobeying the Lord, their God, the God of their fathers. Now, let me share with you briefly this idea of the God of your fathers. See, when you go into slavery or captivity, what has to happen, if you notice, when they go into a land, they tear down the statues of the leader, they remove all things that reminded them of their culture. When they went into Iraq, they literally changed the culture. Right now, America is trying to survive, and so she's trying to export homosexuality into Africa. And the Africans don't want it. They siding with the Russians and the Chinese. They don't want American culture. They don't want American dollars anymore. They're siding with someone else. But America is bent on making them have laws because they're rejecting homosexuality. And America is going over there telling them, you got to accept that. So the Africans are saying, why don't you demand that to the Chinese? Why don't you demand that of the Russians? Why don't you demand that of this nation or that nation? Why is it that when you come to us, you got to demand that we accept homosexuality and we don't want it? The point is that you are exploited because you are regarded as less than a man. And so therefore, the whole thought system that's given to you is only given to you in order to bring you down to the level of the beast, which is the teachings of Willie Lynch. Now, Willie Lynch, you've all probably heard of Willie Lynch, this letter that was supposedly written back in the 1700s. And it was about this slave owner who came to the colonies because he saw them killing theirs, and they were losing the money as a result of that. And so he concocted this way of teaching for them handling their slaves that would bring the slave's mind down to the level of the beast while keeping his body strong like the level of the beast. And so now there are some that say, well, this Willie Lynch letter is a fraud and a hoax because the language that was used in the letter was not used in the day that it was supposedly written. And that's cool. And I understand that whole concept, and I take that because it's logical. However, let me ask you, was the process described in Willie Lynch used to enslave our forefathers? Forget about the language and the particular words. Was the process that was used in slavery outlined in this letter? There are more records of slavery than one would imagine, brothers and sisters. It's inconceivable that for 400 years that slaves would be taken across the Atlantic, and there's no record of that. But you don't have any record and nothing that you know about, no receipts, no nothing. You have nothing to tell you about yourself and where you come from. And so you're groping around in the dark, in the noonday, as though it's dark, just like the book says. Groping around, and because you're in darkness, you don't know. And we're quoting a book that we don't understand. We haven't done the study. We haven't had the courage to let the evidence lead where the evidence leads to. So, Willie Lynch, I'm asking you, was the process used? So let me do something here. I just want to read something here. Henry Berry was a congressman in Louisiana after the Nat Turner Rebellion. Now, this is a governmental historical situation here. They had a conference about slavery after the Nat Turner Rebellion. And Henry Berry, who himself was a slave owner, but he went to the psychology of the slave so that he could get them to see that trying to deal with it from the outside, from the body level, was not going to work. That they had to go deeper into the psychology of the blacks in order to get a docile slave, to turn a man from a man to a beast. He says, pass as severe laws as you will to keep these unfortunate creatures in ignorance. It is in vain. So they were trying to pass laws to keep our forefathers in ignorance. In other words, you couldn't teach a slave to read, or he couldn't learn to read. And one of the biggest things that our forefathers went for is trying to learn how to read. And that's what happened to Nat Turner. Nat Turner read. And when he read, he picked up the sword, and he didn't bear the sword in vain. Pass as severe laws as you will to keep these unfortunate creatures in ignorance. It is in vain, unless you can extinguish that spark of intellect which God has given them. Let any man who advocates slavery examine the system of laws that we have adopted towards these creatures, and he may shed a tear upon that, and would to God, sir, that the memory of it might thus be blotted out forever. So he's just basically talking about the laws. Look at this, what I'm saying about these laws. Sir, we have, as far as possible, closed every avenue by which light may enter the minds. We have only to go one step further to extinguish the capacity to see the light, and our work would be completed. They would be reduced to the level of the beasts of the field, and we should be safe. So he's saying that they did everything to keep you from getting knowledge. If you wanted to hide something from a black man, says the little proverb, you are a proverb. You are a proverb, as Yahweh said you would become because of the curse of the nation in your disobedience. You are a proverb, and here's one proverb. If you want to hide something from a black man, put it in a book. That's a proverb. And a black man is a byword. So Willie Lynch, Henry Berry, the congressman, this is in a congressional record. We have closed every avenue by which light might enter their minds. In other words, they cut off light coming to you, put shades around you, if you will. So the light is out there, but it can't reach you. So now they have to take it one step further. He says that we need to extinguish the capacity to see the light. So even if you got access to the light, because you didn't have the apparatus to take on the light, that's the next step that they had to go to extinguish your capacity to even comprehend light or knowledge or wisdom. And if we could do this, our work would be complete and they would be reduced to the level of the beasts of the field and we should be safe. But sir, now listen to this. Listen to this. But sir, this is impossible. And here's why it's impossible. Can a man be in the midst of free men and not know what freedom is? Well, the answer is yes, if he's extinguished the capacity, but he's saying that it's impossible for another reason. Can he feel that he has the power to assert his liberty, and will he not do it? If you in the midst of freedom and you get your hands on the Declaration of Independence, which says, well, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights, and that among these rights are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and towards this ends our governments established. And when any form of government does not hold these rights, it is the right of the people to abolish it or change it. So he says here, can he feel he has the power to exert liberty? And do you think he won't do it? It won't matter what station he is in life. If he get access to this knowledge, he will exert by his very nature the rights that's inherent in him, because he's gotten access to light, and they were trying to extinguish the capacity. How did they go about extinguishing the capacity? See, you can be in the midst of freedom. You can be in the midst of wealth. You can be in the midst of equality and not experience it, because the capacity to experience it you do not have, or you are unaware that you have it. How did they do that? The first thing that has to be done is to blind you to the knowledge of yourself. That is the very first thing that has to be done. And once you are blinded to the knowledge of yourself and given an identity that is not yours, but an identity that has been imposed on top of your true identity, then you will function as the entity of that false identity. And you will take that false identity as you. You will think that you are this. I am this. I am that. I am a car. I am a cell phone. I am this. And without these things, I am nothing. When I was back home in Detroit, a young man who was dating a girl, she had a little baby, and he had a cell phone, and she took the cell phone from him. and she went to her home later on that night. The man came to the house and stood out in front of the house and shot up the house, killed the little girl and the baby over a cell phone. And the conversation among the people of the city of Detroit during those days was, why? Why would he do this over a cell phone? Why? What? And I got on the radio and I gave a simple explanation, which they did not accept. I said it was easy for him to kill that woman over a cell phone. See, there's something that you're not noticing. When you think you are the dust of the earth, you think you are material and your life is in what you own, the material. And this young man saw his life in that cell phone, and nobody is going to stand by and let somebody take their life. No one's going to do that. So when you see your life in this or that or whatever in the material world, when you see your life as material, then you will by nature want to protect your life. And so you kill if somebody takes your cell phone, because they are taking your life. And so this is how Willie Lynch thinking has saturated us to such a degree that we see ourselves in terms of the material. So we're going to vote for Joe Biden or the other fella, Trump, because somebody has given us two choices or one choice with two figures. And we dare not vote for somebody who has exactly and is speaking to what we are thinking and what we know by nature is true. We dare not vote for that person because the logic is they can't win. But God says, choose good that you may live, not the lesser of two evils. Choose good that you may live. So we are the children of Israel, brothers and sisters, and we fit it. We fit these curses. And our women are lost and confused, and our men are crazy and out of shape. And just like these scriptures says, that we are suffering from the disobedience of something that is greater than what we think we are. That thing that is occupying our minds, and I'm going to close out right now. I see it's after 8 o'clock. It's after the top of the hour. I'm going to pick up with this. I'm going to finish this in the Garden of Eden story. I needed to tear up that fallow ground. I needed to tip over the tables in the temple. The temple is metaphorical of your holy place. And you've erected these idols. And on these tables, you've got these idols of materialism on the table. And I'm coming in and I'm tipping them over. And I'm throwing out the money changers. This is metaphorical of your mind. So the curse of Yahweh is upon the black man in this country as a result of disobedience. And there's no escape except through the coming of the Son of God. And that's where I'm going to end it today. And you got a lot of questions. I know you got a lot of questions, because this has been, I've been saying some things that seem to have stirred up your mind, if you will. But listen, tune in Sunday, 9:45 Central Time. And I'm going to talk about the real devil in the Garden of Eden, but I'm going to zero in on the woman, or Eve. I'm Dr. Fleming, and I'm out of here for this day.
you give brightens up